You're listening to NT Paranormal After Dark. Nothing normal about it.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another riveting episode of... What's our show again? What the hell's the name of our show?
NT Paranormal something.
Oh, yeah, the NT Paranormal After Dark podcast. So, yeah, we're back. So we totally missed the last show because Sarah's been in the hospital. But we came back with a pretty cool show idea we're going to try to get going. But, you know, this is just the show where we promise to do things and then inevitably it never happens. You know, oh, we're going to do an interview next episode. And no, we're not doing that interview next episode. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
How's it going?
Fine.
How's your arm?
Camera. Oh, you can't even see it. I got some stitches.
She had a lot of stitches, actually.
I got 13 stitches. 16.
So what happened? Was it demonic? Was it
a ghost.
Was it paranormal
There was
related?
a ghost in my arm.
Okay.
And the doctors had to bleed me of my bad humors to get it out.
Or you could have been in the hospital because you injured your hand trying to crush up a dildo pop.
It wasn't...
What was it?
I'm trying to share.
We'll share with the class.
Our friend Kristen got Brad here a giant penis-shaped sucker for his birthday as a gag gift.
It wasn't giant. It was about average.
Boys don't know what size things are.
Okay. And so you were trying to feed the penis sucker to your children.
No, my son, I was eating, like I'd bitten a piece off of it and he was like, what are you eating? I was like, I got a sucker. And he was like, can I have some? I was like, well, I can't just hand that to him. So I went to the kitchen, put it in a baggie and decided to break it.
Right.
Instead, I hit my hand.
With a hammer.
With a hammer.
Right. Which caused a fracture.
Maybe.
Which
They said it wasn't broken the second half.
recaused CRPS.
Well, recaused was always there.
Whatever.
It recaused compartment syndrome.
Compartment syndrome is what. Sorry, we're not on the medical podcast right now, so I can't remember.
I got an infection called cellulitis. So they did a surgery and they cut into the back of my hand. Luckily, they used one of the already existing scars. And then they did my arm. Hold it still. See?
Yeah, you can see a little better.
And there's the hand.
So you're pretty effed up.
I'm feeling pretty okay with the back. I didn't realize how crummy I was feeling until after I started feeling better. Like, I thought just my arm hurt, but no, turns out I just felt crummy. But yeah, it was right before we did the podcast when my GP told my mom to have me go into the hospital. Because I was going to do the podcast first. But I guess my mom hassled you, so you canceled.
Right. Yeah. So instead of doing the podcast, I drove you to the hospital. And then we did a podcast from the curb.
And my other podcast.
Go ahead and plug it.
Strictly Sickly.
Yeah. Sarah has her own podcast now about...
I've got two.
About...
Chronic illness. And
chronic illness and the
healthcare in our country.
Right.
And I usually do that with Kristen Martindale, but since I've been in the hospital, I kind of been flying solo. And she's got a crazy work schedule. Which
we'll probably do an update podcast right after this podcast on the Sickly channel. So, Strictly Sickly channel. So, if you want to hear more about Sarah's debilitating illness, you can tune in for that. And we'll be talking about that. And mental health. You said you wanted to talk about mental health, too.
Well, I want to do that on one episode, I know.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
What are we talking about today?
So what we're talking about on the NT Paranormal podcast
it's
today.
Something stupid.
It's not stupid. It's awesome. This is I actually like this because
something stupid.
For once, me and you actually kind of have a slightly different opinion about it. I think you have good points, but
I think you have trash points.
I found the documentary very convincing. So we're talking about the Demon House documentary by Zak Baggins, right? Which is actually the Ammons Haunting case. from Gary, Indiana. Right, Gary, Indiana? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you said.
And I mean this like hit national news. Like before Zak Baggins got a hold of any of it, this happened in
I remember the picture being posted and shared on Facebook.
right, yeah, and that all happened in 2011. And that was before I was doing paranormal investigation with you guys, actually. And so kind of back in 2011, I kind of it was interesting to me, but I kind of wrote it off. I didn't really think about it for a long time. Hey Deborah, hey Dave, how's it going? But I did think it was interesting, and I had only caught some of the details that were in the news at the time, which is kind of what set the whole thing, because even then, before they were doing a documentary about it and all that stuff, the news was basically reporting that there were a lot of credible witnesses that saw specific events and things happen.
From what I was reading, was one of them who thought there was something going on.
Right, and one of and there's holes to be poked in it, but then there's some pretty substantial stuff. So,
the doctor said it was BS.
Right, one of the doctors, and then another one actually saw some stuff. I mean, it just there's multiple sides to the case that I really like. So before we even get into the Demon House documentary, we can set the stage a little bit. So the Ammons Haunting case, also known as the Demon House, is an alleged haunting and demonic possession which occurred in Gary, Indiana, in the United States in 2011. Latoya Ammons, her mother, Rosa Campbell, and her 3 children claim paranormal activity occurred in the residence. The story was publicized in January 2014 and received national attention. So I guess it was 2014 when I remember seeing it back in 2011. 2014, I guess, is when it like really blew up. And we saw it again, I guess. And that was actually when we started doing, we were really starting to hit our stride in paranormal investigation, because 2014 is when we kind of like officialized and started putting stuff online and all that. So
that long ago, really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, because the Lancaster thing and the like little thing we did at your house, that was 2013. Yeah, so November 2013, we did the thing at your house where the door opened, and it was probably the dog knocking it open. And then December 2013 is when all the weird stuff happened to me in the warehouse. So this kind of coincides. So maybe that's kind of why I find this case so interesting, because it was a new case that coincided when we were really getting into the debunking and the scientific, kind of just sinking our teeth and doing things official instead of just wandering around. So the official case background before you get into all the hype is in November 2011, Latoya Ammons, her mother, Rosa Campbell, and her 3 children, ages 7, 9, and 12, moved into a house located at 3860 Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana. Days after the family moved in, they claimed black flies swarmed the porch in December and kept during even after the family believed they were all killed. Campbell initially heard footsteps in the basement and doors creaking. Later, she alleged to have witnessed a shadowy figure of a man pacing in the living room and found a boot print. Campbell claimed that she was choked by an unknown force. Ammons' 12-year-old daughter was claimed to have levitated above her bed unconscious during a sleepover with a friend who witnessed all this. They were said to have prayed until the girl returned to her bed. The daughter had no memory of the incident. The older son was allegedly thrown across the room by an unknown force. The younger son allegedly had his eyes... I'm just going to leave out allegedly from now on, because every sentence has it in here. The younger son had his eyes roll into the back of his head and was growling, saying, "It's time to die and I will kill you." The family reached out to their physician, Jeffrey. I can't say this last name. Jeffrey Onioko.
Who cares?
Anukwu, okay, on April 19th, 2012, when he visited the house during the supposed haunting, he noted their behavior was delusional. Some of his office contacted police. After the police arrived, the children were taken to the hospital. The older boy was described as acting rationally, while the younger boy screamed and thrashed. In 2012, so I guess it wasn't 2011 that I did first hear about it. It would be after some of this stuff happened. So maybe 2012, 2013. So, memory's a little off. In 2012, the Department of Child Services, DCS, or CPS, it would be CPS here, was alerted to the family. The DCS believed that the children were performing for their mothers. Sensational stories published in outlets such as the New York Daily News reported that DCS personnel had allegedly witnessed the young boy walking up the wall backwards. This will be a little bit important later because there were a lot of witnesses to that. 37-year police captain Charles Austin believed paranormal activity occurred in the house, and a photo published by the Indianapolis Star claimed to show a shadowy figure when no one was home.
That's the picture I remember.
Right, we'll come back to that in a minute, too. The family hired Father Michael Minot to perform an exorcism. He interviewed the family on April 22nd, 2012, and concluded they were being tormented by demons. He eventually performed 3 exorcisms, 2 in English and 1 in Latin. I don't know why that would matter.
Maybe the demon only speaks Latin.
What if he only speaks Portuguese? Then you're screwed. 1 exorcism was performed on LaToya Ammons. Ammons' family moved to Indianapolis in 2012, after which the events were supposed to have stopped after that. And so there's some notes here on skeptical analysis and stuff like that. So, hey Cassie, how's it going? So the meat and the potatoes of the story is that they move into this house, and what it kind of didn't.
And shit goes crazy.
Yeah, so she's got these 3 kids who all kind of start acting weird or seeing stuff around the house. I think the police first got involved in the whole case because the school was...
They were missing too many days.
And so when the police showed up...
They said demons.
Yeah, and that's what's weird about the case is, most people that... even in the Amityville case, which is known to be fake, like when the police show up or whatever, and all this stuff is supposedly going on in the house, the first thing out of their mouth isn't usually... it's demons or ghosts, or they kind of try to, we're just having a tough time. They don't want everybody to know that. But with this case, the red flag to me is that from the start, like every problem that comes up in this family's life, it's because of the demons in the house. So the kids were missing too much school.
Demons. And
it was demons. The landlord... They were
owed back rent. They couldn't pay.
They owed a bunch of back rent, and they're like, "Well, we're not paying the rent because of all the demons here." Like, that had to have worked for a while because they stayed in this house for a while. I did not know that was a legitimate way to get out of paying rent.
I call the electric company next time. Be like, demons.
Yeah, you're a little bit behind on your light bill. Well, it's demons. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Hatfield. We're just going to put a $200 credit on that and have a good month. So kind of like all that was going on, eventually the CPS comes out. And in the initial report from the CPS, from what I read, was they went into the house and they had like crosses and Bibles and candles out. Like they had been up praying and doing stuff, and the kids were acting out and things like that. I can see how they can confuse children for, easily. I would definitely use that to my advantage with the electric company. Just be, hey, you're behind on your electric bill. Well, I've got kids, so demons. And they'd be, we understand. They came out. It looked like they had been like praying and doing exorcisms and all that stuff. And the church legitimately got involved, which, it doesn't actually come lightly. I mean, you hear about exorcisms and stuff all the time,
but they got to check a ton of boxes before they can do an exorcism.
Yeah, and it more so than what I even thought, because we've been planning on doing the podcast about the exorcism debate, and I did like a lot of looking into that, and they have to get the parish has to get permission from basically the archdiocese that area. They have to have a medical examination,
I believe they're also supposed to have a medical doctor present.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff. So the fact that they actually got the church legitimately involved rather than just like a pastor or like just a community minister or somebody like us or whatever, just call them up and they come in. They actually legitimately went through the like Catholic avenue to get that exorcism, and that's pretty hard. And they were convinced, or whoever did the investigation from that angle was convinced something was going on, that it wasn't just them acting out.
They're wrong.
Okay. Well, why? Okay, so
No, keep going though. What happens after this?
Yeah, so I'm laying all this out, and so they do that, and things still don't get fixed. This is even after they did an exorcism on the mom. Yeah, it's the mom. They did the exorcism on, because they thought maybe it was following her around or whatever. And so eventually they end up taking the kids are all having this like big episode one day, and they decide to take them to the hospital to psych to get checked out. And there's like a psychiatrist there, CP, whatever they're calling CPS is there, DCF is there, the police are there. There's like 5 or 6 people in the room when this happens. Granted, the original child psychiatrist that they were going through, the one that says the whole thing is bunk, wasn't present at this particular thing, but they're asking the kid a bunch of questions, and he like blanks out for a while and starts doing a demonic possession thing. He's talking in another voice. The answers don't line up with what a little kid would say or whatever. And at one point, the kid's like acting out a little bit, and they're trying to restrain him, and he backs up backwards. And so the 5 witnesses in the room, and these are all like credible witnesses. Now, that's not saying I know 100% it's true, but I'm saying that the people that gave the eyewitness testimony to what happened in that room are considered credible people. And supposedly this kid walked backwards up the wall, which would give me a shit fit. And I know because it's in the documentary, because he interviews her, she's like, I fucking turned around and I ran. Like, and that's, it's kind of like what your dad said about it. In my head, that's like how when something real is kind of going on, because people aren't like,
this is cool. They're like, nah, I'm peace out.
Bye. And they just leave. And so like 2 people ran out of the room. One of the on-site psychiatrists saw it happen. A nurse saw it happen. The mom was there. A whole lot of people saw it. And apparently like when they finally got the kid down and he chilled out or whatever, he had no memory of it, like at all. He just looked confused about the whole last like 30 minutes that they had been asking him questions and stuff like that. So everything's finally under control. Blah, everybody's chilled out. They don't really have like, oh, your kids are nuts or your kids are lying or anything like that. They're just kind of like, okay, well, we're going to send everybody home after a few days. And they go and they check out the house and everything's on. And they end up moving out a few days later. The news gets some national press, but nobody can find the family to talk to him because they've legitimately left. And they actually did not do a whole lot of, I think that there's maybe 1 or 2 TV interviews with like the local news, and that went national, and then they just like disappeared off the face of the planet. Like nobody could find them. They went and hid, which is kind of what you would expect people to do. So in this kind of situation, in my head, the only thing they've done that's kind of off kilter is right from the outset. Okay, this is what's going on. Well, which flags me, in my head flags me as, okay, these are people that believe in this sort of thing already anyway. and they're fine with people knowing that there's some kind of demonic possession going on in their house, which is a little weird, but it is what it is. But then they disappeared, and then the picture makes national news because it was either a newspaper or online newspaper or blog or something like that. The picture shows up and you see a shadowy figure, and it looks pretty scary. But I think it was only like a week, maybe 2 weeks later, the picture was just completely debunked. It was done with like one of those ghost hunting apps. And I think initially they tried to claim that a police officer had taken it, or it was part of the original crime scene, or not crime scene, but
the sheriff came out and said it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't one of their photos. It was just somebody had submitted it or whatever. And that's almost when you stopped hearing anything about it for a long time, because that was the nail in the coffin right there. Because as soon as, and I see that with a lot of cases. That's why it's disheartening, because if you disprove just one thing about a case, or you come up with an explanation for just one thing out of like
then it's all crap.
Then the whole thing there's obviously an explanation for everything. And I see that in a lot of cases we do, where especially like residentials, like, they're talking about 6 or 7 different types of activity that happen. And in the real easy one
in the
is
case of my mom's house,
right.
We went in and we proved there was very high EMS. Doesn't mean crazy stuff didn't go on there.
Right. Well, and I mean, like the last residential we did, she was talking about the upstairs door opening or closing on its own, and she had tried to close it and she felt it jerk out of her hand or whatever and close. And I was up there and I got it to do it because of the air.
The draft.
Right, yeah, the air pressure. And when I explained that, like, the look on her face was like I was saying that everything in the whole house, it's like, okay, well, just because you have weird air pressure up here doesn't mean that there's something like roaming around downstairs. Because we did I think we got some EVPs there, maybe a couple or something. But that's pretty much so. And you didn't hear anything about it. But I know as soon as they moved out, as soon as it hit national news or whatever, that's kind of where Zak Baggins comes into the story, because his producer told him about it, or he heard about it, and he bought the house for like $30,000 sight unseen from the landlord. And it's in a crap part of town, so $30,000's normal for a house there. And he just owned it forever, and I think he didn't even go to check it out again till like 7-8 months later. And there were some squatters living there, and I think the original landlord said nobody before that family had any experiences in there.
Yeah, no one else before had problems.
The squatters after that Zak Baggins talked to said they didn't have any experiences till later. They were trying to extort him for some cash, and that's actually in his documentary. The dude's like, yeah, man, if you give me some money, then I'll tell you some stuff's going on here. And he's like, what? No. Kicked him out. So nobody else except this family really had any experiences in there, which is kind of also another flag that they were kind of just trying to deal with the fact that they were behind on bills and maybe just trying to hoax it's almost Amityville all over again. That's exactly what happened with
con artists.
Yeah, there were a lot of...
The one thing about me to me that says they weren't good con artists, at least, is that they disappeared off the scene instead of doing all those paranormal recreation shows.
They probably knew they weren't going to get very far. They probably got to a point where they're like, okay, we're out of trouble. Now we can move and just...
so they took the smart...
they quit.
Smart money.
Yeah, they quit while they were ahead.
No one does that.
And that's what raises the real red flag. Maybe they're psychic. I don't know.
Who quits when they're ahead? Come on.
So here's the official skeptical analysis. You read the skeptical analysis. I want you to say his last name.
Physician Jeffrey Onyakwai
Farquad.
has been skeptical of the entire incident and failed to witness any paranormal incidents. In his medical notes, he wrote, "Delusions of ghost in home and hallucination. Ammons' children had a history of irregular school attendance, with a complaint filed against Ammons in 2009. In 2012, she blamed her children's continued irregular attendance on purported demon activities."
Demon activities?
According to
is that like coloring, like really hard?
Some sympathy for the devil. According to skeptical investigator Joe Nickel, Police Chief Charles Austin was an admitted believer in the supernatural, including ghosts. Nickel reported that the photo published by the Indianapolis Star and captioned "Photo by Hammond Police" was, according to the Hammond Police, not an official photo and was not taken by Hammond Police authorities. Nickel also interviewed a number of witnesses and concluded that there were a number of non-supernatural explanations for the claimed supernatural events. Charles Reed, the landlord, stated he had never experienced any supernatural events at the house. His prior tenants also claimed to never have any such experiences. At the time, Ammons was behind on the lease and used the claimed paranormal activities to avoid payments. The tenant who moved in after Ammons had not noticed any paranormal events either. Reed believed the events were a hoax. The children were interviewed by psychologists, and several professors concluded the children were acting deceptively and in accordance with their mother's beliefs. Tracy Wright, a psychologist, noted that the youngest son acted possessed whenever he was challenged or was asked questions that he did not wish to answer.
My microphone smells like a belly button.
That's because you stuck your finger in your belly button and tried to make me smell it, and when I wouldn't, you rubbed it on the microphone. Enjoy.
I can't believe that worked. That's horrible. I'm gonna wash the mic covers.
You're so freaking nasty.
So for those of you who don't like Joe Nickel, he's actually one of my favorite paranormal investigators.
I don't even know who that is.
He's the world's only full-time.
Oh, that guy, the old dude.
Yeah,
the one that's like ghost or bullshit.
Yeah, he's the one that
Okay.
it's.
Yeah,
Well,
I like him.
he doesn't say ghost or bullshit,
He just
but
says there is no proof.
He is exactly as analytical as we are.
He's
about
who
the
I
whole
wanted
thing.
to be when I started.
Yeah.
this.
He's the world's only full-time professionally paid paranormal investigator, and he's technically an investigative journalist, and he is super critical of everything. He does UFOs, Bigfoot, all of it, and he just shits on everybody's parade all day.
He is who I wanted to be when I started.
But I really like the way he does it. He doesn't say that the things couldn't happen. He legitimately just takes everything at a case-by-case study. He doesn't say, well, no, this is all crap because of all this other stuff. He looks at every single case and tests things on an individual basis.
There's a podcast I listen to called The Black Tapes, and I think the main character in that is patterned off of that guy because it's a ghost hunter that goes through, and he's very skeptical, and he's going through all these tapes, and it's a journalist recording his experiences with these.
Well, if anybody hasn't
tapes.
looked up Joe Nickel, he does our job better than we do. Like
better than any other ghost hunter.
Well, I mean, he's the only one paid for. I mean, he's.
I don't care that he's paid. I care that he is the same kind of skeptical I want to be.
Right.
Whereas there is no proof. I'm not going to invalidate your experience, but there is no actual proof.
The other thing that I really like about Joe Nickel specifically as an investigator is I didn't know he worked on this case until I looked up all the case information on it. So he'll go in and work these big national cases or these things with a lot of press or whatever, but he's not out there with like his own ghost hunting show or anything like that. Like you don't even know that he's already like compiled a file and done some type of investigation, and like he didn't do an actual like investigation like we do. He just went and interviewed witnesses, talked to people, walked the premises, stuff like that. And got a general sense of everything and put that together is just kind of like a dossier on the case. And that's it. He moves on, which is a really good way to work because I think he does what we've been aiming for is where we're looking more at the psychological parts of it because he's got a really good understanding of that, and him being in the position he is, he has access to a lot of information we don't have, tests we can't run.
He works out of a university, doesn't
right?
he?
Yeah, The fact that Joe Nichols said all that stuff made me take a little bit of a step back when I was kind of like reviewing it, because I was super hyped up after the Demon House documentary, because
It was a good documentary.
it was a damn good doc. And here's the thing, and I have to preface that with anybody that knows me knows that prior to me watching that documentary kind of towards the beginning of this year, because it came out in March and I caught it a couple of months late, I am not a Zak Baggins fan. Or I like the show,
Yeah,
but
the
I'm not a
shows
fan
are
of.
fun to watch,
I'm
but
not a
he's-
fan of his
He
investigations.
seems goofy.
Right, and it always bothered me. I felt like they were always hyping stuff up a little bit, maybe even faking some stuff here and there. And then when they kind of mirrored some of our investigations, I lost my ever loving mind.
Fucking Alton Bridge.
Yeah, so I really fell off the Zak Baggins wagon. So
I keep wanting to call him douchebag.
douchebag, yeah, and he gets that a lot. But I'm trying to do I'm trying to do better about that, because I watched
I'm not trying to be mean. It just sounds right.
Demon House. Just in the whole reason I was watching it wasn't even because I was a little bit interested in the cat. Like, I remembered the case. I thought that was cool. I really wasn't interested in any of the evidence he was gathering. I was wanting to watch it for production value, because that show has always had, it has really high ratings because the production value is really high. At the end of the day, nobody can say that show isn't entertaining. It's they, whether you like their investigation or not, they go in, they do an investigation. But the way everything is cut and presented and put together is really professional. It's really tight, and people watch it. It has good ratings. My thought process has always been, okay, let's do a good investigation, but then present it well so it's watchable. So that's initially why I started watching it. And after I watched it, like, my mind actually totally changed about how he does investigations and everything like that, to the point that I went kind of from, this side all the way over to here. I think the guy is legitimate. I think he legitimately does investigate. Now, I don't think he doesn't get into the science side as much as we do. And I think he misinterprets some of the tests and things he's doing, which hinders him. But I don't think he's misrepresenting. I don't think he's faking. Am I making sense in what I'm saying?
I think he plays it up, but I don't think he's fake.
Right, yeah, and I think he's doing it for production value. And the thing is what I really loved about Demon House, that documentary, is there wasn't a whole lot of that. There were like 2 or 3 scenes where everybody was all kind of amped up, and they were arguing with each other, and there was like stressful things going on, and they were kind of jumpy and things like that. But if you look at that documentary, there is very little investigation going on in that. 99% of that documentary was them talking to all the witnesses.
The interviews,
the
history.
the on-site walking through, and it was so well done.
I still think it's bullshit.
It may be, I don't know. He talked to a lot of people that were actually there. Him talking to the lady from CPS, them talking to the second child psychiatrist that was on site. They talked to the original priest that was there that did the exorcisms. They talked to the landlord, the squatters, and he didn't just present the things that
Or on his side.
that were on his side, because I think what I was really impressed about with that documentary was that about 60% of the way through it, I was wondering if the documentary would actually end with him saying, yeah, this place wasn't even haunted.
Has he ever said that about any place ever?
Actually, yeah.
Really?
On Ghost Adventure. I mean, it's...
I'm not, because
There's
you're into
like,
this show.
There's about 4 or 5 of them where he went in, he's like, oh, this is bullcrap.
I have never watched that show except with you.
Yeah.
The one I watched was Ghost Hunters, and I only watched the first season.
There's about 4 or 5 episodes of the whole series, and that's a lot of damn episodes.
It's like 30 seasons.
But there's about 4 or 5 where he went in, they did their thing, and they're like, he's like, and he'll flat out, he's like, these people are hoaxing. Like I remember one of them where the guy said there were demons in his house, and writing kept appearing on the walls and stuff like that. And they went and looked at it, and they stayed there, and things were kind of weird. But then they go, no, I think these people are fucking with us, and they basically packed up and left. And then there was one episode where something happened, and they said it was evidence, but a whole bunch of people online were like, no, he threw the EMF detector out of his hand. And they went back and they looked at it and they said, hey, yeah, he did. They're like, we looked at it again, and it's not.
The other part of it that we both found interesting was the actual physical health issues the people came away from this investigation with.
And that's where I lean more towards your side, because you have some really good points. So people were having migraines. They were having problems with...
One guy had organ failure.
A lot of people got sick during
legitimately
this whole thing.
Wound up in the hospital.
Not just mental health, but like
but
stuff.
Can prove medical testing sick. Like Zak Baggins. You'll notice he started wearing glasses at some point.
And I always made fun of him for the longest. I'm like, oh, he just wants to look smart, and it turned out
something at that house happened, and it messed with the nerves in his eyes. He ended up cross-eyed, I believe.
Yeah,
I forget the medical name for it.
Clinically, to the point where it's like dangerous, and so he has to wear these like prism glasses.
And what I think is that this was all caused. First off, I think the mom's a nut job. And if you believe something strongly enough, it pulls in everyone around you.
Right. Mass hysteria. Especially if it's family.
Yeah. Second off, I think there was an environmental problem in this house. I think because I noticed them all going to the sink and drinking, getting glasses of water and stuff.
Yes.
They were all drinking the same water. They were all breathing the same air.
I am absolutely on board with the water theory.
I'm not sure if it's the water. It could have been something in the walls.
It could have been something. So, like, unfortunately, he ends up bulldozing the house.
Yeah, because I really would have liked some environmental testing done.
Well, and they did some environmental. That the one paranormal investigator that came in that I have a lot of respect for, because he's not a paranormal. Well, he is now. After it's the same guy from the Entity story. He went in. He's the one that had the organ failure. Actually, and he's still having organ failure. If the dude's not dead by now, I haven't looked it up.
And he was older, probably the oldest person there, and therefore more susceptible.
Right.
And also the children are more susceptible to things like that.
Now, even with the house gone, I think they could go back and test the water. But the thing is,
I'm not sure if it was the water, because then other people on the street would have had.
My thinking is it was in the water, but it's in the pipes in the house. If the pipes were corroded in the house, then only their water would be contaminated. But since the whole house is completely bulldozed.
Rachel asked, how old was the actual house on site?
I don't think I have that info. I did. So just judging by the way it looked, I'd say it was built in the 40s.
Yeah, 30s or 40s it looked.
More like 40s, 50s, sort of. Okay. Yeah, it was like that 40s, 50s look. If you're from local to DFW area, it was similar to that kind of colonial style, like what they have off of like 7th, 8th Street downtown. That doesn't mean anything to our greater audience, but
yeah, I mean, I really think it was.
Now,
the mom's
they tested for.
Factors.
He tested the whole house for carbon monoxide, because remember he did that right off the bat.
It wouldn't have been carbon monoxide. People that would.
Well, the guy said there was a slight carbon monoxide leak down in the basement, and it would cause some of the things that people were feeling down in the basement, which was that lightheadedness, disorientation. Yeah. That sort of thing. But the professional he had on site said it could, if you were down there for a really, really long time, but it's with intolerances. Like it wasn't even enough to warrant like some kind of repair, or like it wasn't up to code or anything.
Well, and they checked the EMFs, because I know EMFs make me sick.
So the EMFs were upstairs were fine. There wasn't anything going on, and then the EMF downstairs wasn't too crazy. But when his name's escaping me, but the scientist that they had check it on a geomagnetometer went downstairs and checked everything, and the polarity of the location was off. Now that indicates heavy metals in the ground.
Rachel says, my house was built in 42. We had to change a lot because it caused me health issues. Yeah, that's things like mold.
Asbestos, mold.
Yeah. I really think because of the actual physical health problems that there was
black mold, some type of mold.
Something going
He
on
did
in
have
that
the place
house.
checked for mold, but they didn't find any. That doesn't mean it wasn't there.
And
but
I'm not
but
saying
they did
it
a
was mold. I'm not saying it was something in the water or it was carbon. I'm just saying something or a grouping of things. If you got a little bit of black mold, a little bit of carbon monoxide.
The other thing they never showed is like, and there's a, obviously the whole documentary is cut down to be entertaining, but I'm curious what was in the attic. They never showed anything in the attic.
But every time they went to that sink, he got a new glass of water. I was like, stop.
Yeah, stop doing that. That's bad. You're killing
And
yourself.
this is why I drink bottled water.
We could do a Cleburne water experiment to see
Dude,
if
they've done something to our water recently. Like, I don't know if the lake turned or what, but it smells like a pool. The chlorine is so strong.
They just turned it and over-chlorinated it to try to counteract.
I think the lake turned and they dumped a bunch of chlorine because it reeks. Like
Either that or if they changed out some
I'm
piping.
allergic to chlorine. Like if I swim in a pool, I get hives. I took a shower the other day and just wound up covered in hives. And when I smelled it, it just smells like the laundry detergent aisle with all the bleach on it. It's bad.
Just don't even use soap on your clothes. Just run them in the
Arsenic paint. My house still had arsenic paint for a while. That's a thing?
Yeah, that does make sense. In the house, and you know what? I mentioned the houses on 8th Street because that's my mom's house was there, and I remember it from a little kid. I remember they had arsenic paint because they had to change some of it out. It was like green or whatever. It was a big deal. Well, and that's why they always make the jokes about kids eating paint chips off the crib.
I thought that was lead.
Lead and arsenic, they're both. But anyway, so the geomagnetometer, it indicates that there's heavy metals and heavy minerals in the ground, which could leak into the water supply or do something to the pipes. So I think there's a huge biological factor there.
I think it's that and group hysteria. I think it's mass hysteria.
Right. But I don't. There are certain things that like showed up on film, showed up on EVP, and those things aren't hysteria. Those things aren't in your head. Those are the things that we find, and that's the flip side of that coin. Is I think a lot of the behavior stuff. I think almost all the behavior stuff is completely explained by psychosis. It's explained by environmental factors, them being behind on their bills, all that. I absolutely
the mom's
do. Yeah, I'm not in disagreement about that. Where I differ a little bit, and it's almost just as he was thinking that the whole thing was bullshit too. He's like, well, I'll just go in here by myself and I'll run the investigation. Of course, he's got the cameras on and all that.
Yeah, he did something like he locks himself in that break. Like not just locks himself, but has them nail boards over the windows,
right,
and locks himself in that house,
which is pretty creepy because I mean, this is more behavioral evidence, but they had they went downstairs and they were disoriented. The doctor's organs started shutting down. Everybody was having headaches. They almost got in a fight upstairs for absolutely no reason. But once they went outside, there was the family that had lived there before showed up while they were filming the documentary and wanted to take a tour of the house.
And they were acting weird.
And the daughter tried to kill herself. And the family before said, no, we never had anything happen here. But her brother had killed himself down in the basement. And the kids were wandering around, and only the oldest kid kind of started acting weird, and a few days later tried to kill herself, and then had no memory of it at all. And then they went and did the exorcism at the parishioner. Is that correct? Is that what you call it? Parish? I don't know. I get kind of muddled up.
The church?
Yeah. I get muddled up on some of the religious terms and stuff like that.
I think church is a good PC.
They went to the church, and she had like an exorcism, felt better, and had no memory of even being at the house like 3 days before, which is nuts. Which that all falls under the behavior thing. And then also it was his camera guy or somebody on his crew lost his goddamn mind and like tried to kill everybody at the hotel.
Oh, yeah, I remember them filming that. He just went nutballs.
And then, like, became a Satanist and joined a heavy metal band or something like they had this like whole expose portion of it. It's like, and then Chad got tattoos where the demon touched him and now he plays guitar. And it's like, what? Like that part, I understand why it's in because it's relevant to the documentary, but it was funny to have it in there because it just takes this whole like little side route. It's like, and this is how Chad started Slayer 2. It's a gorgeous green color. Yeah, I bet. And then you throw up, and that's green too. So, but like a lot of stuff happened, and finally he's just like, all right. And he was kind of at the same conclusion we were. He's like, I think these people are making shit up because nothing real had really happened other than behavior type stuff. Like he hadn't seen any paranormal anything other than having his weird Zak Baggins sense was going off. And so he was like, yeah, I think it might be bullcrap, but the only way we're going to get this done is if I board up all the windows and doors and they lock me in and I just stay in here overnight with a camera. Of course, he's got surveillance like covering every angle too. So it's not just him with a camera. And that's when he got some stuff. Oh, but before they even came out and did anything, some other they did do a paranormal. Somebody had done a paranormal investigation that they were talking about it, and there was the stuff that dripped down the windows. Remember, it was on the curtain. It was like an oil or something, and the lady touched it, and it deadened her hand. So that I don't know that's what as soon as I heard that too, I didn't even think paranormal. I thought, oh, there's something like in the walls, like it's poisonous, like your mom having the bees. Yeah, it
reminded me of the bee. My mom, I went out in her backyard one day and there's just 1,000 bees flying around and they were going into her wall. And when they pulled out that wall, it's the size of this room. The honeycomb had taken up the entire wall and half the ceiling.
I bet when they took that out, the electric bill went up because that was probably like half the insulation was just bees.
But they couldn't. I remember because Mom asked, she had a guy come and take the bees live and move them to a colony. They can't use the honey because of all the crap that's in the wall.
Right. It's all contaminated.
But yeah, like it had started leaking through the wall. Like you would get spots on the wall where it had kind of bled through.
Like oily or whatever.
Or just discolored where you could
Did
see
the wall just like make a buzzing sound all the time or anything?
I don't know. That room is used for storage over there and just laundry, so I sincerely doubt they were ever getting close enough to that wall.
I wonder if that would be something that would like flag a paranormal call if people are hearing some kind of weird thing in the wall or what. Like you never see the bees, but you can hear them moving and building in the walls and stuff like that. If that just and you know what? Like you said, like stuff just leaking out. Mm-hmm. Like, doesn't that sound just like horrible? And then if you're experiencing Matrix, like, what if it looks like a face?
I wish I still had those photos of that crazy has-been.
Yeah, I'd probably have nightmares. I'd have more nightmares about that than I do Kyle.
Well, luckily,
like, bees in the wall.
Luckily, no one in my family is scared of bees.
Nicolas Cage is. Nicolas Cage is terrified of bees. Have you not seen that movie? They put his head in a box filled with bees.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's kind of okay.
You're a moron.
I hate you. Pop culture is just lost on you. But
culture's lost on you.
All this stuff just happened, and then the police, when the police went in with the psychiatrist and they did their own investigation, they got some really cool EVPs then that they were playing on like a magnetic tape.
With EVPs. I'd really like to debunk these because we get weird EVPs, and
I don't trust anybody else's.
I just can't sort out what else it could be.
Yeah. So he locks himself inside, and this is where I diverge because he's thinking it's crap. He's thinking it's environmental. All that
crap.
All that too. And the only thing they got is this. I guess when they were filming in there or whatever, there's this black shadow that moves over the bathroom. And
you see that the first time when that old dude, the one with organ failures upstairs, in like 2 frames, there's this shadow.
And that's right before he starts really feeling sick, too. And it's going towards him. And normally I'm the first person to say, okay, if it's just like a black shadow, it's like somebody's finger and just a little bit in front of the lens, or they're casting a shadow, whatever. But his finger, but I know what that looks like. His finger obviously wasn't, they weren't catching any of that. So if it was something, it was him catching a shadow on the wall. But there are 3 factors in that argument for this particular case. God, I hate making a case for Zak Baggins evidence. But one is that the shadow was too dark to be that guy's shadow, and it went over the like it went from the wall in front of the
window to the wall.
It went from
The window to the wall.
window to the wall. And but it maintained a dark consistency in the foreground. So like where if my shadow was crossing over a door, it would break at the door frame and then go in, and then you would have a lit room and it would cancel it out. Didn't do that. Actually blacked out the whole little bit there. So that means it wasn't a cast. And then there was a second camera view from the house security that clearly showed where that guy's shadow was in relationship to it. And there were no.
I still don't think ghosts or demons is the answer.
I mean, neither do I. And
Yes, you do. Why?
Well, no, I do, and I
Brad's
don't.
sitting there watching it like demons.
Demons. Well, the other problem is most of the time when you hear
Bathing in
about like a
holy
haunted
water.
house and demons are involved, they usually follow people around. They don't just sit like. Why is a demon
Yeah,
just
chilling in the house.
chilling in the house? Like the people he was terrorizing left.
Well, I
Why
mean,
didn't he go with
what's
them?
the line between demon and just angry ghost?
Well, I think that's one of the huge problems with paranormal investigation. Hell, I talk about it in the fucking introduction of our book, is that the biggest problem is there is no set like definition
Yeah.
of what's a ghost, what's a demon. To me, a ghost would be used to be human, is wandering around.
Yeah, that's why
making
I
pottery
don't
with
believe in ghosts.
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
don't think people just hang out after they
And
die.
I hate every time somebody asks me, do I believe in ghosts? And I say
Yeah.
no, and they're like, what?
No, but
But we're talking about different definitions. So ghosts are, dead people going around making pottery with
yeah.
Demi Moore.
Do
That's
I believe
ghost.
there's things out there that we don't understand and maybe can't perceive with most of our senses? Yeah. Do I think dead people are hanging out writing shit on your mirror when it's foggy? No.
And the thing is so I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in demons either, because demon would fall under the category of alien entity that's like not necessarily on our plane
Well, I
of
mean,
existence.
is it specifically
I guess.
religious would be the other question.
Right?
Is
Yeah,
it
like because
specifically
technically a
religious or
demon is a
just-
fallen angel,
Or is it just a term we use for something dark that we don't understand?
right. And if we're gonna call something dark that we don't understand something, we should probably call it an alien, because it's
Yeah, but then
Fucking alien.
if you say alien, people think little green men and UFOs.
That's the problem with the whole definition thing, and it drives me nuts. It's like, okay, it could be an alien from another dimension. Oh,
It's-
you're one of them, and it's like, God,
mom-
it could be.
my mom
it
and
could be a
Steven-
Mexican.
See,
Mexicans are alien to us in Texas. We're aliens,
My mom and my husband
I don't
got into
think-
this conversation once, and he made her angry by saying God was an alien. And she,
That
"Oh,
is
no."
true.
But then he launched into his, well, he's not of this earth. He is not human. Therefore, by definition, he is alien.
I mean, I guess it goes which you go with, because if he
And then she
if he
was like,
made-
oh, I get it.
if he made man in his own image, and he created the earth, and this is the only place where there's light, then he wouldn't be an alien. But he is not human, so he would be alien to us.
Yeah,
and that's what I meant by my comment just a minute ago. Is like, if you're from somewhere else,
You're alien
you're
to us.
alien. Canadians
are alien.
would be. That's why they call them illegal aliens. It doesn't mean they came from
No
space.
human is illegal, Brad. Undocumented.
And then you have your residual energies, and I don't want to call those a ghost, and I don't want to call those demons, or because
Call
it's
them instant replay.
it's like the John Madden recap of horrible tragedy. And if you look over here, this is where he hung himself. That's more Jimmy Stewart than John Madden, but you get what I'm saying.
No, I don't.
Ah,
Do it again.
F you. So anyway, there's this black solid like mass that goes over. It's not caught in the other
Like the
camera.
thing we got at Jefferson?
Yes.
They went in front of the window?
I didn't even make that comparison. Yes, we've
'Cause
caught that.
Yeah, we've got this shadow from Jefferson where it's a window that's lit and the shadow goes across it.
Now, when I look at that set of pictures, my head fills in a person shape.
Yeah, I don't
going
think,
there,
it just
but
looks like a blob.
but there is absolutely no shape. It's just a black mass that like moves up.
And of course, we never got the chance to go in and like debunk that or anything because we were just walking down the alley.
Yeah, we've done photograph analysis
It's
on
funny.
it.
Allie was walking down an alley.
Yeah,
and took the picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Whippa.
Okay, Chandler.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. So I mean, that's why. You know what? If we hadn't got that shot and some of the other shots that I've taken, Allie's taken, you've taken, I would be like, yeah, that's crap. But having been in the position of the only difference between them and us on capturing evidence like that is they're famous, so they're under even more scrutiny
Well,
than
and the
we
other
are.
difference between them and us is if we did it, I know who did. I trust the people who did it.
Absolutely.
As opposed to, I don't know if these people are faking it.
Yeah.
I don't know if any other group's faking it. I know we aren't. Now, they are probably all feel the same way about us, because how can they know what we're doing?
Right, and that's why we go to the links that we do, because and we're still actually working towards that end goal of producing evidence that can't be disputed or one way or the other, either for or against. But that's why we're using different types of recorders at the same time. We've started doing the experiments with different types of light, things,
More than one camera.
Right, different angles, so it's at the very least nobody can say they faked it.
And even if we make a video and we edit it down, we release the unedited.
Right.
Which is mostly us sitting around being bored and
Right.
Allie's probably farting and someone's probably making penis jokes. But
usually your dad. About
only since I smashed my hand.
only since you smashed your hand with a penis.
I didn't smash my hand with a penis. I was
You
trying to
smashed your
break
hand
the-
on a penis.
I smashed the hand with a hammer while I was trying to break a penis lollipop. I'm tired of this. I'm never telling anyone again how I hurt my hand.
I think we should make a documentary about that, and we'll just call it The Hand. It's
But yeah, we do the.
maybe that should be my next documentary project. Actually, is for Strictly Sickly. We actually talk about all that.
They just released one called Trial by Fire for complex regional pain syndrome.
Let's talk about it when we do the other podcast. But,
Yeah,
but remind
but-
me about that. And we'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. But anyway, the thing is with any other group, yeah, we can't see what they do. We can't see what's going on in their head. I only know with us, I trust us. They shouldn't trust us.
I wouldn't trust.
I'm not
If I didn't
endorsing
know me, I
anyone
wouldn't trust
else.
me either.
I don't even trust you. When you sent that picture from Lancaster, I was like, you photoshopped that.
Oh,
What a liar.
That's BS. Yeah, I don't like him
I
anymore.
sent you that back. I was like, you're so full of shit.
But I wasn't.
I'm still not sure.
I proved it. No, I showed you. It was still on my phone.
It's on your phone. That doesn't mean you didn't fake it.
Oh my god. Okay, so. Well, in the rough part about that argument, guys, is I totally can fake that. Like, I am a graphic artist. If anybody knows how to fake photo, video, and sound, it's me. There's an entire...
But then we have the picture from George's Creek that I know you didn't fake.
Do you?
Not George's Creek. Shit, Great House.
Do you?
Well, I saw the picture on the camera.
Yeah. Well, the other one was on my phone. What the
Yeah,
hell is
but
that
I mean,
about?
I saw it on the camera before you had a chance to F with it. When Allie was still taking pictures.
No, we didn't spot
did
that.
we
No, we spotted that on my. To be totally fair, because I don't want to muddle up the story with
Okay.
a bad podcast. That was discovered while going through the images on my laptop. But Allie was sitting with me while I was going through the pictures, and I clicked over to
and
it.
some of the EVPs I've caught first go through before you've.
Right,
seen
and that's
them.
actually why
Heard
I like you guys going through stuff before I get to it too, and writing down what you think before I give it a run, which is kind of how I want to go forward on that process a little bit. Like I've actually got this list of
But I still
stuff here you
think,
did.
in the case of this documentary, that it was environmental and psychological. And I guess I'm biased because I don't believe in the paranormal.
I think you're a little bit. And so, okay, so this, in my head, this documentary is a huge case of.
It doesn't feel like bias. It just feels like facts. Sorry.
It feels like there's this definite medical, biological thing going on. And like 90% of the case is actually debunked in my head. I'm like 95.
It's that other 5% that
I feel like there's still 5% not explained. So
the kid walking backwards up the wall.
Kid walking backwards.
Is the only thing I feel like.
Well, I'm talking about the stuff from his specific investigation at the end. So there's the thing that
I
walks.
don't trust anything he does.
I do. I do, and I don't. I don't. And I could be totally wrong. I've been proven wrong so many times about people. So I'm not saying this is definitive. I know for sure, but I feel like he doesn't fake anything. I just feel like it's over.
He acts like a big goober.
It gets ratings.
Well, and I've had someone tell me that before, that we needed to.
We have been told we are so boring.
Yeah, because
we go in like legitimate investigators. Our podcast is probably the most exciting thing we do.
Occasionally one of us will get hyped up, but it's not like they do on that. Like we're doing something wrong.
So I've wanted to, but I don't think we have ever actually just turned and ran at. No, I take that back. He locked me out of the car. Too bad that wasn't on video. That would have made a great clip. That's the only time we've turned and just sprinted out of a place, but.
We almost ran out of Antioch. We came really close. We walked very quickly and calmly from Antioch.
I don't know. I mean, I do like our new trend of, verbalizing what we're feeling at the time.
Yeah, I think that's
for
something
documentation
we haven't been doing.
And I know why we don't do it. It's because they do it on Ghost Hunters. They do it on. They do it on the shows, and we make fun of them because they sound like
dicks, and we'll make fun of each other.
Yeah, they look like idiots because they're like, "Hey, I really feel weird right now. Stop being a pussy, Zach." That's what we're thinking the whole time, but it never occurred.
And we have done it to each other on ghost hunts.
Yeah.
When someone voices something, the other people shout them out.
Right.
And we've been doing better though with someone voicing it and other people being like, "Okay, documented." Move past it.
Right, yeah. It had never occurred to me that they were saying that stuff out loud because they were trying to document the psychological part.
But I'm not saying it's valid. I'm just saying it needs to be documented.
Well, it's valid in the sense that if you're feeling weird about something, or you're letting us know, hey, I'm feeling anxious,
you're more likely to see stuff.
Right, yeah. It helps us go, okay, well, this person is probably not the best judge of interpreting the environment right now.
What did Taryn ask? Didn't the grandmother help the kid on the wall?
The grandmother was one of the people in the room. The mother was another one in the room. I think there were 5 total.
Wasn't one of them holding his hands or something and trying to get him to?
Yeah, it was the nurse. The nurse was holding his arms, and then he walked backwards up the wall, and she let go, and he kept going. Because when he started doing it, she freaked out, and
I would have been peaced out from the very beginning of that.
This is the account though. Like there's only 5 people that really know what happened in that room. Which you could say about any eyewitness event, but the thing is one was a doctor, one was a CPS officer.
That doesn't
one
specifically
was a nurse.
make them more credible. I've known some doctors that were really lacking in common sense. People can be very professional and smart and also be freaking goofy.
Oh, look at Ben Carson. Fucking neurosurgeon, like one of the top brain surgeons. Thinks the Earth's 2,000 years old.
I think 6,000. I think that's because when you're that smart, other areas of your brain lag.
Yeah, it's like overclocking your compuber. Yeah, you can get more speed out of it.
Think about autistic people. How
they shut off like a lot of their sensory stuff. Yeah. No, I mean, I get you. I just CPS people are supposed to be super credible around. Doctors
have you ever dealt with CPS?
No, but these are people that you're taught are supposed to be.
Yeah, but see, I mean,
these are people you're supposed to trust.
To work for CPS, all you have to have is an associate's degree in literally anything.
Not even that in Texas. I applied once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe I should apply for that.
No, they told me at the interview, they're like, hey, if you like kids, you probably don't want this job.
I know what it involves.
Oh, well,
I'm just gonna end up with a house full of stray children.
it started at like 48,000 a year.
Yeah.
I'll get you the number.
I don't like kids anyway.
Except your own.
They're okay.
Demons.
Demons.
The shadow photograph was pretty convincing because only on the thought process that we've got that picture before. So I know that's a real anomaly that can happen because I trust our own pictures, and I'm like, okay, people can't actually get this
is
picture.
a thing that happens.
This is a thing that happens, and no one's ever going to believe you. Just deal with it, right? So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. So 1 point for, hey, something weird's going on. When he locks himself in the house, now granted, it's an edited
but what caused
freaking documentary.
I don't remember what caused him, because at the end he freaks and kicks out the window.
So so he's in the house by himself, and so he's prone to all the psychosis stuff that's going on in that house.
Because we've locked ourselves in rooms alone before. It's horrifying.
That alone is creepy because that's like being in a coffin. He can't escape. I mean, I guess he can always call somebody.
Like that jail cell at Granbury Jail, like when I went into
I
it
know
by
I
myself.
can get out, but it's going to take a while, or I'm going to have to call somebody.
And it's stressful. It's just you're in the pitch black. You can't see anything.
Right.
I mean, you know how big the room is because you've been in there with the lights on, but it feels so different when you can't see.
So the first thing that happens when he's there is he goes in the kitchen and
probably drinks a glass of their poison water.
Maybe, but he does record a very clear EVP on his recorder.
What we call it, a Class A.
Yeah. Oh my god!
Because he classifies his EVPs. This is a Class A.
That's a Class A EVP, right?
It's a Class F EVP. Is it just Chuck the cameraman belching in the background?
Yeah. I love that he classes. I mean, I guess it makes sense, like for clarity, syllables, stuff like that. But I really think his classification system is just however he's feeling at the time. I got me a Class A EVP. Dude, that's just you farting into the mic. Now it smells.
Remember when we got the certifications online from the Flamel school?
Copied mine before I put my name on it, and then since I have a PhD in parapsychology now for $40, that means I am certified to certify you. So I certified everybody in the group. My God. So yeah, anybody that says that they have a degree in parapsychology, just be wary right there.
Yeah. So you spent $40? Go you.
Congratulations.
What does that mean? It means I had an extra $40.
It means I have no self-respect.
Well, we're hunting ghosts. Did we really?
So he got one or two EVPs over the course of the night, and actually he recorded footsteps, and they didn't sound like we've heard a lot of people say they hear footsteps, and
it's
then
the house settling,
and it's the house settling, and it does kind of sound like footsteps or whatever, but these didn't sound like.
Is that what made him freak out? Because something was walking.
Well, he heard some walking. And he's like, "What the hell is the house settling?" Or he did the same thing we do, and you could hear it. It sounded like footsteps, not the house settling, but it still could have been an animal or whatever. And he's sitting in that bedroom, and he's looking over, and he points the camera over, and you hear a very clear, just like growl.
Yeah, and he kicks the freaking plywood off the window.
Oh, dude, he's like
done.
boom, like he almost flips the thing over. He drops the camera, and this is where I think he got a little bit cinematic with it. Because if this is real evidence, God, how convenient. But, of course, when you drop a camera, the autofocus goes out, so everything goes blurry, and you see a shadow walk in front of it. Why, God, at that particular moment,
did he drop the camera facing just that way?
And just happened to be pointing at the door, you dropped it, the autofocus just happened to that's where it gets really convenient. But here's the catch-22. He doesn't present anything in that investigation as this is my paranormal evidence. He's really just kind of telling the story of this house.
I did really like the documentary.
It was so well done. It was well filmed. It was well put together. It was well edited.
And I don't usually, I watch paranormal shows or something. That's not really my thing. That's something I prefer to do as opposed to watch.
Yeah, but I would actually venture. I planned on watching it again like yesterday. I got caught up, but I liked it. I bought it, and I rank it up there. It was better than the Sir No Face documentary that I also have. It's good. It's not, as you kind of see the other side of the other kind of sensationalist paranormal. There's another paranormal investigator that's almost as big as Zak Baggins. Like he's
in another country, but because Facebook keeps trying to pitch that to me.
Well, I've got it. We can watch it. I mean, if you liked Demon House, I think you'll like that one. But I think you'll see the evidence that they're tearing apart or looking at in there and making credible, and you'll go, it's fucking CGI. Like I'm looking at it, and he talks to all these CGI experts over the course of the whole thing, and his CGI experts like, yeah, there's no way I could actually recreate that. And I'm looking at it the whole time going, why not? I could. I could do it with just like Adobe Lightroom.
There's basically nothing you can't do with CGI.
In the guy he talks to, like he lives in like Hollywood, so the guy he's talking to did like the CGI for Transformers and stuff like that. And the guy even does like a little CGI mock-up to show, why it would look different. And what he did is actually pretty close, but it only took him like a week to come up with that. So, and he's like, see, you couldn't do it with CGI. It just doesn't look right. Well, maybe if you spent more than a week working on it, buddy, because any animator that's worth his salt is going to spend like a good month working on a specific scene. So if you're really trying to put hoaxed material out there, you've probably taken the correct amount. You probably didn't just slap something together and throw it on the internet if you're really wanting it to stick. I know I wouldn't. So, and that's why it doesn't hold some water. But some other really crazy shit happens in that particular. We'll have to do another episode on that after you watch it, because I'm curious what you think about it. But yeah, something like walks across, and that's when he gets up and he goes into the kitchen, and that he goes blind. Like at that particular moment in time when all that happens, that's the exact moment. Like he goes blind for like 2 or 3 days first. Yeah. And then
because he went to the hospital, and I believe
right,
that
yeah,
documented.
He's like the end of that scene is him screaming, "Hey, get me out of here!" Which Zach doesn't do. Normally, that's Aaron doing that on the show.
I love how you know all their names. You're such a fangirl.
I know. I hate it. I actually hate it. I like him so much better now. And the new season of Ghost Adventures is good. So Zach, if you're watching, I totally,
yeah, right.
I totally used to hate your show. But after you made that documentary, it kind of changed my mind.
Why did you watch it constantly?
Production value. It is the #1 rated paranormal investigation show.
I like
period.
the ones they do on Skinwalkers. Because
on Ghost Adventure? Yeah, that was one of the other ones.
I had never seen one of their episodes on Skinwalkers until after we had the Kyle experience. And then I was watching that episode going, oh my God, it's the same thing that happened.
And it all lined up. What'd you think of the new episode we watched in the new season?
I don't think what they caught on the camera, because the shadow goes across the door, I don't think that looked remotely like what I saw.
Okay.
Well,
you don't think it's that, but do you think it doesn't move like somebody just out?
Yeah, no, it doesn't move like a person.
It looks legitimate.
It moves all herky-jerky like that thing we saw.
It's nuts. I
don't like talking about it.
That episode, that's almost as scary as the Demon House episode. Actually, that's scarier than because a lot of stuff.
Demon House scary. I used to not.
That episode actually wigged me out a little bit.
I don't think I would have found the Skinwalker thing scary if not for
our own experience. Well, actually, and when they go to Skinwalker Ranch in that episode, it's not particularly scary. It's just kind of weird.
It's scary to me because it lines up.
Right, but to us, it's nuts because we've had some of that stuff happen.
I don't think you could pay me to go out there.
Skinwalker Ranch? Dude, I would go in a heartbeat. I don't care.
Okay,
as many times as we've been and gone back to Kyle, I would do Skinwalker Ranch.
There's a difference between ghosts or whatever we are talking about, things that are immaterial that we're catching EVPs from, and maybe real cryptid that can kill you. I wouldn't go play with the lion.
I would if nobody believed they existed. maybe. I don't know.
F that, man.
I don't know.
Well, fucking white people.
So to me, I know EVPs aren't good scientific evidence, without a lot of controls. But seeing as how he was the only, if we're taking the thing at face value, say he really is.
EVPs are my favorite, so that's hard.
If he really was, because we don't know that he was taking everything.
We don't know that.
Yeah, could they have faked everything there? Yeah, but if we're taking it at face value. And we're saying, okay, none of this is faked. Now we have to find an explanation for the shadow, the two EVPs he caught, the thing that walked across, and the sounds he heard in there. And then we take all the medical stuff off the table: his eyes, the organ failure, the mental psychosis.
If they never checked the attic, how do they know there wasn't just a family of trash pandas chilling up there?
Okay, so the attic is never mentioned. I don't know that they didn't check the attic. I would imagine the guy he had come out and check for asbestos and all that stuff, that guy had to have checked the attic because he checked the whole place top and bottom. Maybe the place didn't have it. Some places don't have an attic.
Everywhere has an attic.
I don't know. I don't know that that's true.
Unless it has a vaulted second-story roof.
I don't know. That's the thing. There is data. If you're looking at it from a scientific, you can't look at it as an investigation totally.
Things.
We are missing data from that investigation. We don't know what was going on with the attic. There was no testing on the water that was presented. There's all, we weren't there.
We don't know about drilling in the area.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff missing. So you have to take it on face value. So that's why all the psychosis and all the environmental stuff, I'm on board 100%. I say, okay, yeah. Because those are solid explanations for those behavior things. Okay, so come up with a real world explanation for the shadow thing that's not a finger in front of the camera and isn't the guy's shadow.
I don't have one.
Okay, so that's 1 and 1. The EVPs. So we know from our own experience.
Baby monitor.
It could be the baby monitor effect.
Trucker.
It could be somebody outside the house and he's actually picking that up. Mm-hmm. So the EVPs are kind of in the middle because we know some of them are legit, some of them aren't, but they're not scientifically isolated because he does not execute the same types of controls that we do. That's our one-up advantage on him. What about the shadow walking around the house that he saw or that we saw on the camera going by? If we're assuming that that's not a camera trick just for dramatic effect. When he drops the camera and the autofocus and something goes by.
I don't know. He dropped the camera.
I don't know. So
it's the raccoon that was walking up and down the hall.
Oh, God, it looks so big, though.
It's that raccoon from Tales from the Gas Station.
Footsteps. Animals. Growl.
Did they, so it had a basement. Is there a crawl space between the last floor and the basement?
No. The part under the stairs was totally unfinished, remember? Because the other... Here's the big part. Here's the big problem I have with the whole documentary. That they kept feeling like there was something going on under the stairs. Like they brought it up several times. Like they dug down like a foot and found like a little girl's panties down there.
Well, yeah, because the whole area is paved in the basement, except for this one square about the size you need to bury a body.
Right. Didn't get dug up.
Yeah, they needed to dig that
now,
out.
I know they said the police dug a little ways, and that's where they found the panties and a couple other things. No one dug. And if I was Bagans, I own the house for $30,000, and he's like, well, did they do satanic rituals under the stairs? Dude, get a shovel out, get your ass down there.
Oh, look, dead goat, pentagram. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, dig 6 feet, buddy. Figure it out.
Vial of virgin blood.
Because if somebody buried a body under those stairs, it ain't gonna be that deep unless you're John Wayne Gacy. That's flat out. Like I would have hit 6 feet before I was like, okay, there's nothing under there. Especially if within the first 2 feet I find a pair of panties.
Yeah.
That's a weird place to lose a pair of panties. Well, actually, no, I have an explanation for that. If the washer and dryer were downstairs and somebody dropped them.
Mm-hmm. Because my mom, she has the split level. Her washer and dryer is in that downstairs.
I don't know why I didn't think of that until I was on live camera. I'm embarrassed now. So, debunked.
Maybe. How far down was it buried?
Not very.
Oh,
Like they basically took the topsoil and they were just like happy with it. Are we not live anymore? Is that what that's saying, or is it advertising something?
it's just advertising.
Oh, how stupid. I don't know, but the shadow, I'm iffy on the EVPs either way.
So there's like 3 points against 30 for this to be a real thing.
I'm just saying I'm not saying I'm 100% convinced that this damn place had demons in it.
I'm 100 convinced. I am 100% convinced in the opposite direction.
Really? You don't think anything at all? You're as bad as some of our clients. You were absolutely... Oh, God, belly button. Okay. I concede. The place wasn't haunted. There were no demons.
No, I'm not saying that. It's just in this one case, I'm 100% convinced that there was no.
I don't know. Like, are you so convinced that if that house was standing today and somebody said, hey, you want to come check it out, would you think it was worth your time to go in there and do it?
Can I have a gas mask and bottled water?
No, but we can go do whatever environmental tests we want.
I'd want to do the environmental test before I spend any time in that house. I'm already chronically ill.
Yeah, fair
I would
enough.
be super susceptible to whatever is in that house.
Okay, so you're 100% convinced that there's nothing paranormal going on.
If I didn't think my organs would shut down, I'd lock myself.
I have about a 5% margin of error. I think that 95% of what's going on there is definitely not paranormal, but I think there are some things there. Now, here's a possible explanation for that, though. Okay, so saying that there's a little bit of paranormal stuff going on, maybe it's not with the house. Maybe
it was with the family.
No, not even with them. With Zak. I mean,
okay, yeah, because you made that point while we were watching it.
His
the other
damn.
time.
Okay, so let's say they faked everything on their show, right? But I mean, they go.
But also supposing paranormal stuff is real,
right? But so they go to 50 places a year to go do investigate. So if there is paranormal stuff, by accident, they're gonna run into it a certain percentage of the time. And if paranormal stuff follows people around, it's going to follow the idiots that are doing it, right? So maybe...
Then why am I not infested?
We don't go to as many places.
I used to go to a lot.
But it's all local, and
Yeah,
a lot of that
true.
stuff is probably crap. Like, he goes all over the world. He gets invited to places that are thought already to be extremely haunted. We go and like discover places that nobody's even
heard
of, right? So the odds are in his favor that he's going to accidentally capture something real at some point, like more so than us. So the margin of error is there. So I am inclined to say that the house itself had nothing paranormal going on with it, but the things that he did find there, that 5%, it might just be that Zak or that crew or whatever has paranormal things that constantly just follow them. Like every place they ever go where they find something, it's not the place. It might be that, like, they might have carried something there from wherever they went to. And so the idea that
You think there's ghosts just sitting around and they're like stuck in a cemetery or something, and they're like, man, I hope ghost hunters come here so I can hitch a ride and go somewhere else because this place is boring.
yeah, maybe they can't. Well, I mean, if they need human energy to move around, to travel or whatever, then they're totally at the mercy of waiting for some idiot to come by, and that's why they glom onto them, and it's such a drainer. I mean, it's a good theory, actually. And the thing is the idea of if paranormal stuff does follow you around, the idea of paranormal investigators going from place to place to place, we are contaminating our own investigations. We could go to a potentially not haunted place, but if something's following us around...
Well, I had that light bulb ghost for a really long time.
Yeah, I really want to test that again. I have a theory.
It doesn't work with new light bulbs.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is light bulbs have changed since...
yeah, no, it doesn't work with the squiggly light bulbs.
I've got regular light bulbs here. Yeah, those are fluorescent. Those use gas. You need the one with the filament. Tungsten.
Yeah, for a while, everywhere I lived, just we put in a light bulb, a month later, it'd blow up. And of course, I lived in some places with some really bad wiring.
Okay, so you are 100%, not even 99.9. You're at 100%. I'm at 95%, and I'm even willing to concede that the 5% might just be because those bumbling a-holes have wandered through some legitimately, I hate the word haunted, but haunted places or whatever and took it there. But overall, you like the documentary? I think it's well put together. I think it's worth a watch.
I think it's worth watching and coming up with your own opinions.
And
I'm just cynical.
and like I see William put like some laughing. I think that
we were talking about something. I don't remember what we.
I don't know if I made a
time.
joke or if they're laughing at me because of my comment about wow. I think Zak Baggins might be a legitimate because that gets a lot. Because before I saw that, I would have done the same thing. I was like, dude, I can't stand this guy.
I'm pretty sure you made a joke, but
I hope so. But
or maybe we're just funny, Brad.
No. That's not a thing. But yeah, the documentary is good enough that it's given him at least
some credibility.
Yeah, at least as a documentarian. I mean, maybe not as like a legitimate scientific investigator, but definitely as.
I mean, any kind of paranormal investigator. None of us are legitimate. We're investigating ghosts.
It's true. I do concede that as well.
Zach makes him laugh, he says. He's such a goober.
He is, and I agree.
Oh my
and there's so much of the evidence, and I'm not saying like now that I've seen this, like the scales have fallen from my eyes, and he walks on water. That's not.
Because I've watched it with you since.
Yeah, it's just what I'm saying is I don't think they're faking anything. I just think it's overblown.
I think it's edited in a specific way. I think they overreact.
I think they're misinterpreting stuff. Like the stupid. Oh my god, the thing they still do that I can't fucking stand, and everybody's doing it. And sorry if anybody out there is doing this, but the stupid SLS cam where it makes the stick figures.
Oh god.
Oh, there's a stick figure around.
I hate
there
that.
has to be a ghost.
I hate that they bring in psychics.
I can't stand, but they're not scientists. They're not scientists. I have to tell myself that 10 times during an episode. We are.
No, we're not.
We are using. We use legitimate controls.
Oh, William, we're talking about Demon House. It's the Ammons Haunting case in Indiana, and Zak Baggins.
Zak Baggins produced it.
It is a good documentary.
It took him like 4 or 5 years to make it because stuff kept going wrong. And now that we've been trying to do the stupid jail documentary, like
stuff keeps going wrong.
I have a kinship with that dude. I'm like, I know what it's like now to be just trying to make this thing and it falls apart like every freaking time. And it turned out to be really good. But it's called Demon House. You can get it on Amazon, and I got mine on Vudu.
Oh, I wanted to bring up after the Demon House thing. When we're done with that, I have something.
Okay, I'm wrapping up the Demon House thing, but yeah, I don't think the guy's infallible. I don't think that they're not trying to get
he's
ratings.
A giant goofy goober.
He is. He's a huge goofy. And like, if you need to go back and watch the first season, like before he started working.
I've only ever seen like 5 episodes.
He's like scrawny. He looks like Jeremy before Jeremy put on weight. Like he's just this kid, like straight out of like looks like a high school kid, and he's got the Scrubs hair, dude. And like and that's what like, and then I guess Travel Channel, and they're like, oh, this is awesome because they got a really good bit of evidence in the Goldfield Hotel that got them on the news, and it was like what happened to me at Lancaster. Like they got like a full apparition, and I actually don't think that footage was faked in that original documentary.
Oh, we bought it on Amazon, by the way. I'm not sure if there's a place you can watch it for free.
I'm sure if you Google it, it'll come up. But yeah, he's just this like little scrawny kid, and he's wearing like these pinstripe button downs and stuff. And then all this,
now he's like,
yeah, and then like they do a whole season, and then season 2 hits. on Travel Channel, and all of a sudden he's just like jacked, and he's like, "Come at me, ghost! Come at me!"
He
And
calls
he's,
everyone bro.
bruh, and he's like this is I think
He
this is
reminds
what
me
kills
of
everybody, because
the-
he's got like the upside down sideways visor
He
sort of
reminds
thing
me
going
of
on.
the frat guys from South Park.
It's exactly, he's
You
just
smash some puss. I'm gonna smash some puss.
PC principal. Did you get your consent form? Did you smash that puss? Did you get some consent form? Yeah, it's and I think that's what screws up all of that. Is just that whole sort of thing.
And ghosts not being real.
But I think they're at least 90% honest. I think they're presenting things in a way that it looks more profound than it is. And they're also not using controls. When they have an EVP, there is no guarantee that it's not somebody in another part of the house or something. Like they're not going to
Or
the
if
depths,
they use walkie-talkies.
which they do all the time. So yes, I think there are flaws in what they're doing. I think the character Zak Baggins is totally ridiculous. But I do like the show, and I do have respect for him as like a filmmaker. So I have stopped bashing the dude so hard. And that,
Except for Alton Bridge.
I don't think that was him. And now that I have, and the thing is I've watched some others since
So
that.
if y'all don't know, we did a place called Alton Bridge in Denton that supposedly has a goat man. Not a goat man like half goat, half man, but like a man that was hung from the bridge that used to own goats.
Right.
And we went out there and we found F all.
Yeah, like you always find one or two things there. We found a couple of weird
Like I
things,
saw a
but
bush shake.
nothing super convincing.
And he went out there and one of his cats got possessed.
One of his cats got possessed.
And everyone we had interviewed
Everyone we had talked
told
to
a different story to him.
told a different version. It was the same story
But it
with a
had
new
stuff in
new
it.
conclusion. Now people were scratched. Now people wanted to kill their kid when they got home. Somebody saw a half goat, half man on the bridge.
And we actually ran into a bunch of kids out there that were like smoking pot and using a Ouija board.
Yeah.
They weren't scared.
Oh, no, they were terrified.
They weren't scared enough that they had like run out. They'd been back there for hours.
They were smoking dope.
That's probably why they got freaked out. They were paranoid.
Yeah. And also the thing is Alton Bridge, the way they presented it, like it was in the middle of nowhere.
When there's a highway literally 5 feet away. And a church. And when we went, it was Halloween. It was a makeshift haunted house.
Yeah, and there's floodlights that point at the
Yes.
back lot.
Now, if you walk back in the woods, it does feel pretty isolated.
I need to take you back to the further place that me and Elena went.
I can't believe that you
They
took someone out
okay,
there.
so you know how the trail winds around for like a few miles or whatever, and eventually like it leads into the abyss. Somebody has taken and cleared like a straight path, like going back like along the fence line, and it goes like back there, like so far back we were like, okay, we need to go back now.
I just need to get my tennis shoes. I'm down.
We can go back. I'm totally down to go back. And it's honestly, you know what? It's almost that time of year that Becky Vickers is doing her tours. And
Behind
Becky,
every cloud is a kindred spirit.
hey, she's the main speaker at the expo this weekend.
Is she? I liked her. I mean, as a person, I thought she was fun to talk to.
Okay. I wouldn't mind hearing her stories on the place again and all that, just as a refresher and doing the walkthrough.
I was going to mention we went back to Kyle, though.
Okay.
Because, you know, Kyle's our favorite topic. So it was just me and Brad. We went back to Kyle a couple
Kyle's
weeks
the
ago.
only topic.
Yeah. And we had some things,
We did?
didn't you?
I'm drawing a blank.
You didn't hear anything walking around in the woods?
Oh, okay. No, yeah. Well, this all happened on the live feed.
Except you said you can't catch the...
Well, I was listening to it on my phone. I haven't listened to it like through headphones yet. I bet you absolutely can. If you go and watch it's going to be the last live feed actually, because we did that in between. Well, we did that right before we were going to do the next podcast, and then you went to the hospital. So that is going to be our last live video in the queue. But yeah, we went back out to Kyle, and actually, now that you mention it, stuff did kind of start happening from the onset. So we were a little wigged out when we got in there,
because we always have a hard time walking into. I mean, just when you get up there, because of the things that have happened there, we have to kind of talk ourselves into going in.
Yeah.
Especially because it was just me and you. We invited my dad, but he wasn't able to come.
And it seems like the worst stuff happens
But
when
we
it's
also
just us.
We didn't invite very many people because we wanted it to just be me and you, because that is when stuff happens.
Well, and we hadn't been back in a while, and it wasn't an official thing.
That's when it's almost impossible to walk in when it's just me and you, but stuff happens when it's just me and you.
Right.
I'd love to see what happens out there if I was alone, but I'm not doing it.
It used to not be hard for just me and you to walk in, and then stuff happened. So now we know that, and now we don't want to walk in every time. So we went over to the place where we normally start with our EVPs, where nothing usually happens.
Yeah.
And we heard the walking from over there, actually. Like, it started right off the bat.
And there is an animal trail back there.
There is an animal trail.
Initially, I got super excited because I thought I was going to catch me an animal.
And to be fair, it did sound like an animal walking around. Like, it didn't have the makings of boot steps or whatever. But we know what lives back there.
It was crunchy leaves.
Right. But
the thing that lives back there ain't a person anyway.
Yeah, it don't wear shoes. It's probably got cloven feet
Ugh.
anyway. But here's the deal. Even though it wasn't an official investigation and we didn't have all of our equipment,
we had enough.
What we did have was
the thermal cam.
Was the thermal camera, which we have absolutely shown beyond a shadow of a doubt to reveal animals in the woods.
Yeah, and we actually had me go walk down that path and even farther back. And
yeah, we did it. I did it during the live video where you can see you up against the fence. Like, it's clear. Okay,
and we caught no animals on that.
And that walking went on forever. Like, I have no idea how we approached that event, how we approached the fence with that going on. Like,
I don't know, but we walked straight up to it.
Yeah, and it kept making noises, and I think, did we hear a growl?
At one point, I had walked a lot closer to the fence, and I think that's when something caught your eye, and we kind of went off in different directions.
Maybe. I don't know. But
when I
very thoroughly documented that fence, that whole area while the sound was going on, and there was absolutely nothing on the thermal either passing behind the trees, in the trees, on this side of the trees, anywhere.
And at one point,
there's also nothing in the IR.
At one point, you had stopped on the one side of the gravestone, and I kept walking, and I got right up to the fence. It stopped.
Yeah. If you got within like 3 feet, nothing.
And that's when you were like, "Hey, you're gonna get mauled by a mountain lion," and I backed the F up.
And you backed up, and the sound started again. And it would happen whether we were still.
And if we got loud, it would kind of halt.
Right. Now, so the only thing I looked at was the live video recording just on the phone. So the other thing is you were very close to that fence while that was going on, and you were wearing my
EVP. Oh, I was. It was on,
which is very, very sensitive. So there's a very damn good chance.
God, I'm glad we strapped that thing to me.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that it's on there. There's a very good chance that it is actually on the live video. I just haven't listened to it with enhanced audio yet. But
I want to listen to the audio for that.
Definitely no visual documentation of anything being back there.
We didn't get like scared out of there or anything this time. We just decided it was getting late. We packed up.
Yeah.
But it was definitely better than the last couple times we've went.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the activity there has just died down.
Static. We've always statically caught evidence there. Mm-hmm. But the adrenaline factor kind of lagged for a while.
I think it's just the amount in the level, or maybe the extremeness. Like, because we always catch something subtle there every time. But for a while there, we were capturing some pretty profound shit.
Yeah, shit that was not subtle at all.
That we weren't expecting. We were like, oh, hey, we're just, we get subtle EVPs here like we do everywhere else. Things that we may not have an explanation for, but we can come up with some plausible explanations for. the problem with that place is that for a while we were getting things where we have no explanation for.
And things we didn't even notice the first or second or even third time we watched the video.
Going back and thinking back on the evidence that we got there, that we didn't know, that we sat on for years because we didn't know we had it. Mm-hmm. When I was just going back and trying to make like a, hey, this is the Kyle documentary, which, now that Dawn has the new camera equipment and we have the new mic equipment and the different ways of doing things, I want to go back through. I want to finish we're doing the jail. Mm-hmm. We're going to get that done. But I want to go back and I want to do Kyle. Because we have all these investigations we did, but I want to do a documentary about it. But I want to find other people besides us to talk to.
Well, we tried to contact some people on YouTube that had also been out there.
I think if we tell them we're actually filming a legitimate documentary, if nothing else, I can remote them in and we can get some stuff from them that way. Just like on the podcast.
Because we found another group that we talked about this.
They stopped ghost hunting after ghost hunting that place,
and they booked it out of there, man. They
said they will. Not only would they not go back there, they won't ghost hunt anymore because of it. So, and then I want to get brave enough to go knock on some doors in that neighborhood.
Well, my dad knows people that lives over there in the retreat.
I don't know if that's the best tactic because he knows them through church, which might not be the best thing.
And it's his pastor, so
I think it might be better if I actually just knock on some random doors. The
problem is it's a closed community. It's gated.
I'll just walk in through the back, walk across the street, and hit like 2 or 3 of those houses that are right there. I'll say, all right, I'm sorry, and leave. I mean, what's the worst that can happen from knocking on a door and saying, excuse me, I just wanted to talk to you about what's going on over here? Well, it's Texas. They just shoot me, I guess, but...
Find someone that looks like a hipster. They'll talk to you.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean...
But yeah, and I'd also like to find the people that caretake there and do interviews.
Oh, I know them.
Yeah, and that's why, because you talked to them.
Oh, God, I forgot all about them. Because he's like, yeah, that place is weird. We won't mow there after the sun goes down. I didn't even think... His name is Kevin?
Steven might know, too, because he did community service once and worked with them caretaking cemeteries.
Right. I'm trying to remember that guy's name. I don't think he's on my actual friends list anymore. I think his name was Kevin. I know he does Georgia. I found him at George's Creek.
And another idea might be talking to some people that work that oil field.
Okay. But yeah, I definitely want to do a Kyle one. And then I want to take some of our, like, Antioch, George's Creek, some of the other ones where we didn't find, like, a whole lot, and just kind of smash them together. Do another, like, maybe a Somerville County documentary or something like that. Maybe put, like, Chalk Mountain, White Church, those sort of things in there, and do it about, like, ghost towns or whatever. Make like its own thing. But I want to make these bigger, like, standalone documentaries instead of episodes. Like, I'm definitely out of the business of doing an episode. Like, I like that we do legitimate.
The live stream's enough for an episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think those stand alone as their own, like, episode or whatever of our show. But I don't think an episode does our research justice because of the amount of time and effort we're putting into our controls and stuff. So I think it deserves more explanation, what we're doing, why it stands, and we can show why our evidence holds more water than Ghost Adventures or whatever. So, and that's why I'm heading that direction. So, I mean, I'm pretty excited about this stuff. The bad thing is it means that's less content that we can just churn out.
Yeah.
So people have to wait a long time.
But we still got the podcast and the live streams for...
I like the podcast. I hope y'all like the podcast.
And I like just going out and doing a simple live video. Just occasionally on the weekend, we're bored.
Eventually, I'd like to revisit the Alton Bridge one, do an Alton Bridge documentary. Because the history of that place, that could eat up an hour.
And I'd like to just go out there at night and just do another, hey, let's go jack around kind of thing.
Right. And I'm sure Dawn just wants any excuse to go back to these places with the new equipment just to take pictures. So I'm looking forward to doing more daytime stuff, doing more interviews, getting more into the history side of it. getting more into the psychology aspect.
There
of our
is a place
research.
we haven't done that I very much want to do that we haven't been able to do because they've been doing construction there.
Rock Church. I want to do Rock Church. I also want to do Lavaca County Jail. We've actually been invited out there, but they want money from us.
Oh.
It's not.
Anything else?
Oh, I reconnected. Sorry about that. Looks like we dropped connection for a second. No, I think that about wraps it up for this episode. So, we don't recommend a lot of other people's stuff, but I actually have to recommend the Demon House thing. And there's a lot of people that, follow us that are going to be like, oh, they hate Zak Baggins so much that they're just going to kind of crap all over it. But I say watch it for the documentary aspect of it and pay attention to the little nuances. Don't go into it just expecting this really great, investigation with all this great evidence. It's not that. It's a documentary about the house and the people and the things that happen there. And it's kind of an honest look at it. The only thing I don't like after doing a little more research is I really wish they touched a little bit more on some of the stuff that Joe Nickel did there and present a little bit more of that opposite side. And I wish they had done some more research into the environmental stuff. I do recommend it. It's definitely worth the purchase price. And then I'm going to get you to watch Sir No Face, and then we'll do another podcast about that, I guess. But in lieu of us not having any other investigations for y'all to watch, it's a decent watch, and it's cool. I mean, I liked it. So I think we're going to shut this down and take a quick break, and then we're going to flip over to the Strictly Sickly page, and we're going to do a Strictly Sickly podcast.
Just short.
Yeah, because you just got out of the hospital. We can talk about that and some of the other documentary. Yeah, things like that. So, if you're interested in Sarah's chronic health issues and us complaining about the medical system and things like that, hit us up on the Strictly Sickly page. And then if you guys haven't checked out the Dimension 134 B podcast,
and I haven't written on that for a while. Of course, I've been in the hospital. But
well, there's new stories. There's I think there's 4 entries on the blog. There's 2 audio blogs that are up there.
And there's one I could probably put together over the next week because I've got
yeah,
all the audio
there's
for
one
it.
I need to edit. I'm just now getting caught up on stuff. So
and that's
I'll probably bang that
that's
out
a
next
fiction
week.
podcast
About us.
about us, about ghost hunting.
It's about our ghost hunting group, but it's a fictional account.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I like it. The other thing we need to mention is this weekend is the Granbury Paranormal Expo.
Unless it pours.
Unless it's pouring rain, we will be there. I bought a new cover. It's 20 by 10 with a roof and sidewalls, and we're going to be there. Actually, probably podcasting live off and on from our booth, talking to people about paranormal investigations, showing off some of the evidence we've got.
Our equipment.
We're actually going to be giving some little mini classes to people in the booth on paranormal investigation, from the scientific angle, beginner investigation, and some advanced stuff. And we're also going to be selling our book.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot of other booths there. It's really interesting.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 other paranormal groups that are there. There's a bunch of vendors this year, tons of cosplay, and then
they have speakers.
And then after the expo, you can get with Brandy with the Ghosts and Legends tour and actually do the Granbury Ghost Walk, the Haunts and Legends tour. So it's a lot of fun. It's free to the public. It's out on Granbury Old Square, right all the way around the courthouse, and it looks like it's going to be more packed than it has been the previous.
And there's usually a really good food
years.
truck there.
We are going to be right across the street from the barbecue truck.
Always.
Yeah, well, that's our corner now. I've told her, I'm like, hey, this is our corner. And she's like, okay, that's cool. So is this our third or fourth year?
Third, I think.
I think this is our third year out there. And so we're kind of a staple of it now. Maybe by next year we'll be one of the main speakers.
Maybe.
I'm sure if I asked ahead of
Yeah.
time, she'd probably be, oh yeah, that'd be great. I hadn't pushed it. But yeah, that is Saturday and Sunday. So, we gotta go out there tomorrow night
Set
to
stuff
go
up.
set up, and then I have to prep equipment and all that good stuff. So, all right, guys, everybody have a good night. I'm gonna play y'all out, and then catch us on the Strictly Sickly page for the Strictly Sickly podcast. Night, y'all.
Thanks everyone for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did and you would like to know more about NT Paranormal and our research, please visit us at www.ntparanormal.com or our Facebook page at facebook.com/ntparanormal. You can also check out our book, After Dark Paranormal Investigations, True Cases of the NT Paranormal Team on Amazon.com, or find